Hello and welcome to today's coffee break. We're here talking about evolution of managed security services. I have Joel from IDC and Vishal from Nokia, two experts. And I can see that both of you gentlemen have got instruments in the background. Do you play, Vishal? Do you play the piano?
Yeah, so I'm fond of playing piano and I play guitar as well.
Great.
That's my favorite pastime.
Yes. All right. What about you, Joel? I see you've got, is that a bass or a guitar that you've got, or both?
Yes, indeed. You can see two instruments. My preferred go-to one is the electric bass, and then that guitar is easier when you don't need to lug a big amplifier around, and then you just go to a bonfire. It's easier.
That's lovely. Okay. Well, I've got a few questions for both of you, so we could get to work. So Managed Detection and Response, or MDR, is a well-known term and abbreviation in cybersecurity. It's getting rather heavy media coverage these days as a powerful answer to the recent security challenges caused by the ongoing digital transformation of different organisations. Joel, can you please give us some generic insight why MDR is becoming so popular versus conventional managed security services?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to do so. I'll start with managed security services in terms of evolution. They are actually really quite excellent when it comes to customer support because, as the term implies, the service provider will manage a service on behalf of you, the customer. However, a traditional MSS, managed security service, might not go that extra level to address detection and response. So, as again the term MDR implies, the key parts of that is the detection and response bit. I think when you talk to CISOs or when you talk to a board of a company, they're all under increasing pressure. Part of that is regulatory compliance. And they are understanding that having a secure perimeter of defense isn't quite enough. You need to be able to detect the threats as they come, and they will come, and indeed breaches. And then the key is responding very quickly to those. So one of the key metrics that you might see in an SLA from an MSSP would be MTTR, so the mean time to respond, or to the mean MTTR to detect. And that's what MDR offers. You know, as we move towards a 5G world, the masses of data running on networks is increasing. Being able to analyze those the data, so the telemetry feeds coming in from the network, is very important to provide that sort of advanced detection capability and threat intelligence. So that's really where MDR is gaining in momentum right now in the marketplace, and what differentiates it from more traditional MSS.
Okay, thanks, Joel. And Vishal, what's your view on what Joel's just mentioned?
Why MDR is important is basically it is there to design the complete architecture, security architecture for the telecom infrastructure to take care of the pre-cyber attack stage, the during cyber attack stage, and the post-cyber attack stage. What is important to understand here that applying the conventional IT security framework one-to-one on the exposed or digitally transformed OT environment of any vertical, right, cannot be an option in the recent security transformation programs.
Thanks. Could you add some colour to that? The telecom industry face very similar cyber threats, and they implement very similar countermeasures to prevent and respond to them, don't they?
Absolutely right. So if we look at a very basic level, right, the what part is very similar. So security ensures the protection of critical assets from confidentiality, integrity, availability from cyber threats, and in both domains through the implementation of defense in depth, adaptive security countermeasures, which are based on very well-known frameworks like NIST, ISO, cloud security framework, and so on and so forth, right? So this is basically the same in IT security and 5G security. However, when it comes to the critical assets type and associated security requirements in the two domains, we will find certain differences. So let's see or try to understand this with a concrete example from 5G. And let's take an example of 5G critical connectivity domain. So imagine you travel on a train and the railway traffic control system relies on 5G critical connectivity. The components of the critical connectivity and the location information of the train are examples of the critical assets in this scenario. Though the location information of the train is not a secret, but you can easily understand that the availability and integrity of those critical assets, ensuring the reliable connectivity between the train and the traffic control system, cannot be compromised because it can even risk human lives. Such are not the cases in IT environment. So the impact of CIA breach, the impact of any sort of security breach are different in these two domains. And this is something which is very important to understand. And so as a consequence, we need to consider different cyber attack scenarios or threat use cases applicable for those critical assets in these two domains. The identification of the event of interest, mapping that with the threat use cases, identification of the indicators of compromise applicable for 5G critical assets is the most distinctive part, I would say, among IT security and 5G security. So all in all, we can say there are different critical assets, different impacts of a cyber attack targeting those critical assets. Therefore, we need to consider different threat scenarios applicable for the two domains. Meaning, we need to implement our defense in depth adaptive security architecture very carefully, considering the applicable threats and the possible impact. And this is where the how part is different.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Vishal. And Joel, if we have a look at the MDR market, how do you see service providers are differentiating themselves in the crowded market?
Yeah, great question, and it's a absolute fact that the security vendor market and managed security services market is incredibly crowded with lots of different profile players. The location of SOC assets is very important in the security equation. So being able to offer managed security services and MDR where you have a team of very expert and skilled and experienced cybersecurity experts within those SOCs offering 24/7, 365 support on behalf of customers is very important. So those things are actually in place, hardened, tested, and therefore points of potential differentiation for the service provider. And I think another couple of points help strengthen the service provider differentiation in MDR, and that's their existing market traction within the industry and within the marketplace. So they already are connecting and providing some layers of network security, for example, to their enterprise customers. And so it having that view to the network gives them an understanding of the client's architecture already. The industry in a whole is seeing a convergence of network plus security. So service providers, again, have that advantage to sort of go to the next level in terms of value-added services and sophistication with the MDR capabilities that they're offering. And I think that the final point is some industry specific or vertical specific skills and expertise that service providers have, as well as playing within an ecosystem. So service providers are quite happy and, again, proven credentials and do that all the time to integrate across a whole range of technology vendors. So if it's an Industry 4 implementation for a factory, it's likely they have partnerships within that ecosystem to sort of provide a capability in that area. So that point is, service providers are experienced with integrating in a partner ecosystem environment.
And Vishal, how does Nokia differentiate its MDR offering from the aspects Joel just depicted?
See, first and foremost, and again, we implemented a well-known XDR-enabled security intelligence and operations centers. So here, the what part is most probably the same as anyone else is doing. We differentiate ourselves in the how part, right? And we highly rely on our 5G security competence. Now, since we have different and diverse critical assets in the 5G domain, we have built different threat scenarios, or what we can say different use cases for attack prevention, attack detection, response automation, and attack prediction to cover the entire life cycle of a cyber attack scenario, right? And this is what we have implemented in our security intelligence and operations center. So more simply, we monitor different assets with different security requirements. So we don't apply the same rule across all the critical assets. And this is we do by collecting different telemetry from the assets and then correlating them with different rules using our domain expertise, right? And this is something which is really a unique capability tailored to the 5G environment. Now, in terms of incident response, we can say it is a fully system operational task in the 5G infrastructure in which we are a specialist. Also, we utilize our own XDR capability in our SIOC, the Security Intelligence and Operations Center, with predefined, tailored, and automated response workflows in the 5G environment. We provide additional value-added services such as contextual threat intelligence and threat hunting, which are relevant to a 5G environment. So in summary, everything that we do in our SOC, right, is tailored to 5G environment. And with that, we are in a very unique position in the market. In other words, we are the only 5G vendor who has an MDR capability. And at the same time, we are the only MDR service provider who is a 5G vendor as well.
Okay, Joel, what's your opinion on the Nokia approach?
Well, I think it's incredibly relevant. I think, earlier I spoke about the effort required to actually establish a SOC. It's clear that the telecom operators today can't rely upon preventative controls only. There has to be some more advanced sophistication in the detection and response capabilities and incident management. And also, as mentioned earlier, telcos are very used to working in that ecosystem environment. And based on Nokia's 5G domain experience, which is considerable and proven in the market space, it's a very sensible recommendation to service providers to evaluate that capability. And as those service providers seek to roll out 5G services, to ensure that the security architecture and mechanisms around that is at the level required to be able to deliver to customers an excellent experience.
Okay, thank you, Joel. That was a very interesting point. And this brings us to the end of the meeting. I'd like to thank you both gentlemen for a very interesting conversation. And I hope next time I'll hear you play some music.
Thank you. That would be great too.
And Vishal, will we be hearing any Bollywood tracks?
Definitely. I think if you are interested in Bollywood, I would love to play that for you, right? Yeah.
Excellent. That's going to be an interesting coffee break.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Goodbye.